The U.S. government announces higher gas mileage requirements under the latest federal rules issued in June. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said it would like to hike corporate average fuel economy requirements to about 50.4 miles per gallon by 2031. That's up from 39.1 miles per gallon currently. The new fuel mileage requirement is barely above the 49 miles per gallon it previously required for 2026 and is among several regulations the administration is using to push car makers to focus on producing EVs. In April, the Environmental Protection Agency issued strict new limits on tailpipe emissions to ensure the majority of new passenger cars and light trucks sold in the United States are either all electric or hybrids in the next 8 years. Joining us now to discuss is former EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate having you.
It's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
So the White House has stressed that its desire to push Americans towards EVs, and it's instituted some regulatory goals to help aim that progress. Recently, there's been a little bit of some blowback from customers and even auto manufacturers. Can you explain this for us?
Sure. So this is the third regulation as part of the EV or auto CAFE standards in the last few months from 3 different agencies: EPA, Department of Energy, and now we're hearing from the Department of Transportation. All of this taken together, though, is pushing EVs on the American consumer. And I believe the EPA's estimate of around 67%, 2/3 will have to be EVs or hybrids by 2032 is still the overall number that will have to be met.
What are some of the benefits that it could have to the environment?
Well, there could be a lot of benefits, and I'm a supporter of EVs, but the administration, they haven't explained how we're going to get there. And there's been a number of officials from the administration who've testified in Congress, and they haven't been able to explain how we're going to get there, how we're going to be able to generate the energy that we need.
So let's talk a little bit about gas-powered cars, light trucks. The original goals put forth by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration were to be at 55 miles per gallon by 2026. They recently revised those goals down to about 49 miles per gallon. Do you know why the change?
I don't know for sure the change. The auto companies have publicly said that they cannot They could not go with the more stringent requirements. And what happens when you have the more stringent requirements under the DOT regs is if you don't meet those, then the auto companies have to pay very large fines or penalties to the federal government. And we're talking billions of dollars. So what the auto industry said was, if you're going to stick with these more stringent requirements, we're going to be using all of our available cash to pay these penalties instead of investing in new EV cars and new EV technologies. So it was a plea that they made to the administration publicly through a number of media sources and in interviews, where they said that their money would be better spent investing in new technologies than paying penalties. But you also have to remember, if they're paying those penalties, so it was a question of the penalty aspect, and Detroit successfully argued to this administration that instead of paying the penalties, lower the standard, and we use the funds in order to innovate more.
How do you think that the consumers might view these new standards?
Well, I mean, if somebody says, if you ask somebody in a poll walking down the street, do you think cars should be cleaner than they are now? Everybody's going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Everybody's going to say yes. But when they go to buy and purchase the vehicles, that's where they're making their decision, and that's actually the information, basically voting by purchase. And last year, 1 million EV cars were sold, highest level ever, but that's 1 million out of 16 million. EV cars stay on the lots on average 130 days, I believe, as of last year, to gas-powered cars staying on lots 70 to 80 days. So the American consumer is not purchasing the EV cars as quickly as the Biden administration would like them to. The NHTSA regulation for the 50 miles per gallon, that's the fleet average. That means that if an auto company is selling regular gas-powered cars and EVs, they're going to price the EVs lower, and they're going to raise the price of the gasoline-powered cars in order to hit that average. This is not that every single car has to be at 50 miles per gallon. This is an average for all the cars that each company sells. And then what Detroit does, what the auto companies do, is they raise and lower the prices to incentivize purchasing an EV or to disincentivize purchasing a gas-powered car so that fewer of those will be sold.
So do you think then we've seen maybe the end of these mile per gallon changes? And then also, do you think there's a future for gasoline-powered vehicles in the U.S.?
Well, I think there's absolutely a future because we aren't going to be able to generate the electricity that we need for 2/3 of our fleet to be EVs by 2032. So I would say we're going to be needing gasoline-powered cars for at least another generation until either the technology improves or the infrastructure is greatly expanded.
All right. Andrew Wheeler, thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your expertise.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.